I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink.
So I just want to know, where did you guys come up with the name Wednesdays We Wear Pink and just the podcast in general?
Oh, hi. Well,
That's
welcome.
a good question.
Yeah. You want to take that, Benji?
I will start it. Okay, so I think me and Josiah have always known that we have a really good work chemistry together. We work well together, and I had mentioned to him a couple times that I wanted us to do. I thought it would be fun if we did like a show together of some kind, and so it's just kind of. With Josiah, you have to plant a seed and you have to wait for it. Right. You have to wait for it to kind of germinate
absolutely the truth.
Come back later. So I was just like, I think we should do a show of some kind. And I was like, and I'll wait. And then
we had attempted a few shows before. We had worked on a web series many years ago. Mm-hmm. We did a very short-lived YouTube series, and I'd always wanted to do something. Everyone out in LA tells you got to find something. You got to always be creating. Mm-hmm. And I was doing things that I feel like fit other people, but I don't think I ever found something that made me feel comfortable, like something that was like, oh, that's my voice.
Right.
We kept talking. A bunch of people kept bringing up podcasts. When we finally decided, oh, maybe we should do a podcast, we were like still kind of half on. We didn't really know what it was called. Mm-hmm. And I think I jokingly said, it'd be funny if we did, on Wednesdays we wear pink. And I thought, man, after all these years, I'm still quoting Mean Girls. And that's where the idea of like, let's do something that talks about how pop culture affects us, not just...
Exactly. And one thing that I noticed right off the bat was just the detail and everything that you guys have with this podcast. Like, the pink everywhere, you're on theme. And then, look at the detail. I'm just really amazed because it shows that you are really passionate and you believe in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. A lot of people out here, they want to do a bunch of things, but are they really putting in the work and their passion into it? No. So this really just me coming in here and seeing this, I'm just like, wow, like you guys are really about it. And this is what it's all about, do something that you're passionate about and what you believe in.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Well, that's why we brought you on, and that's all we needed you for. So.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
No, thank you so much. And actually, let's give a moment to introduce you to our audience. So I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
I'm Shaniece Cole.
And on Wednesdays,
we wear pink.
Actually, can you even see my pink? It's kind of briefly there.
On Wednesdays, Josiah technically wears pink.
I'm always
Josiah
like...
wears things that are...
My
pink.
threshold is like, would I get... If it was St. Patrick's Day, would I get pinched? No. So this is a pop culture podcast where we discuss our personal experiences with film and media.
And everything else.
You think after all this time you would know how to interject that? Whatever. But we also discuss the impact that it's leaving or has left on our generation.
Today we are going to be discussing Spider-Man Far From Home.
And we have an amazing guest here today to help us out with that.
We do.
Shaniece, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Shaniece Cole you sound like a famous singer.
Oh, yeah.
So, do you sing or...
I could do everything else but sing. It's funny because when I first came out here, I had an audition that it was a musical audition, and the first round, it was dancing, killed it. Second round was acting, killed it. And then the last thing they had us do was sing, and I was like, oh my God. And then my sister and I, we sang, and they were looking at us like we were crazy. They were just like, can you guys do a scale? So the fact that they asked us to do a scale meant that they were still trying to see if we could get a little something, but nothing.
They were like, do you have any skill?
Exactly. And so then after that, we were just like, okay, we know that we will never sing again. We're not good singers.
No. For those of you who don't know anything about Shaniece or her sister, Shanae, right?
Yeah.
Who I've only ever met once, but y'all are twins.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I actually didn't know that.
Which means that you get a lot of jobs, and you kind of lean into that a lot. Like,
right.
I love it. I love watching the clips that you guys both upload. You work really well together, which, I don't think is a prerequisite of being a twin, but it helps if it works out that way.
Right.
I met you. Do you remember where we met?
At RuPaul, right?
Yeah, we both worked on RuPaul's Drag Race together.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Oh my god.
And you were a boss. Like I wanted to know who you were because you were running around.
Oh my god.
You had the papers in your hand. Like
Thank
I was
you.
like, I need to know who this guy is.
And it's great, but don't sell yourself short. You are a boss too because you work on. You want to tell us what you work on now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I just stopped. Well, I didn't stop. The show got canceled, but I was working on the Steve Harvey Talk Show.
Oh my god, that's depressing. I didn't mean to bring that up.
No, it's okay. It's okay because now, since the show ended, I got a job offer at Access Hollywood. So
Nice.
Awesome.
I'm working there right now on the daytime show. It's been fun so far. I met a lot of great people last week. I did a segment with Keenan. So it was
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so it's
You
nice.
mean
It's
you
a
mean
nice
to tell
vibe.
me that all of the old people in America were not watching Steve Harvey at once? Like
What?
Like it was, that honestly was the greatest show I worked on.
Good.
Because we were able to give back to people,
Yes.
and that's, I feel like when you're in TV or anything in entertainment, like if you're giving back, it's like you did your job. Even with this podcast, we are giving back. We're giving knowledge. You guys are giving knowledge to people, who didn't open their minds to, what's going on in pop culture, really, looking at the fact that, wow, it really has a staple in our lives.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually been really good of me for that because that's not my personality type at all. It's Josiah 100%. So this has really given me like a reason to stop and like look at things and how they're actually like what they're doing. So that's been good.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of the reasons why we wanted to start this because I know I've dealt with like naivete or prejudice or any things that like I didn't want to know were there but were there.
Yeah.
And it was actually a lot of positive aspects of pop culture that expanded my mind and helped me to start thinking like, oh, I don't actually have all the answers and I don't know all the circumstances or the situations. And I think there's a very positive thing, and I think that's the benefit of pop culture. But we are here today to talk about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Spider-Man.
I remember when I was younger, me and my older brother would always watch the Spider-Man cartoon, the 90s one.
Right.
We enjoyed that. And then the movie came out. And my younger brother was obsessed with it, and I watched it a lot. The first and the second one. I did not like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I did not.
Even at that age, was it?
Absolutely.
Was it just you didn't like him as an actor, or you thought he didn't live up to that potential?
I didn't think he was Spider-Man. I just didn't think he was a good
Even at a
Spider.
young
I didn't
age.
think he was like just the right pick. I didn't think he was the character.
Okay.
I still don't. I think that I actually only recently saw the Tobey Garfield. No.
Tobey Garfield?
Andrew Garfield once. Tobey Maguire Garfield. I only saw the Andrew Garfield one recently, but like even when I saw that they picked him, I was like, that's like a Spider-Man that I can get behind. Like I agree with that. Like I saw him more, and I love Tom Holland. So there we go.
Actually, the Spider-Man was the first comic book that I read. Because before that, I think I discovered like the Batman film. And then when I started digging to see like, is there other superheroes? Then that's when I started reading comic books. And that was the first comic that I read. And, I always thought growing up, oh my gosh, if I get bit by a spider, I'm going to turn into Spider-Man. And so I always like kept that in mind. He's iconic.
Yeah,
He's
he
iconic.
Is. He absolutely is.
And then, I loved all the movies. I think that the Amazing Spider-Man, it didn't do nothing for me.
Yeah.
It really didn't.
Yeah, me and you can agree with that.
Well, okay. I said I liked him as a choice. The movies, which there was two. I think I saw one.
Right.
I was very upset. I didn't like the way they went. So.
All right. Off that, I want you to be thinking about your favorite Spider-Man movies and your favorite Spider-Man.
Spider-Man movies. It sounded like you said Spider-Man, like it's his last name.
Hey, Spider-Man movies. Hey, name's Peter Spider-Man. But yeah, no, I get you. They didn't really do anything for me, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. I agree with you. There were only two comics I was obsessed with, and I would read either Batman or Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Those were the two. Like, it was either like the really dark, brooding detective type or the one who like felt like me. It was...
That's true, yeah.
Spider-Man really, and it was... I remember one of the reasons I liked it, I liked The Amazing Spider-Man. I keep saying it like that. Spider-Man, like in New York, I like the Spider-Man,
Yeah.
But what I loved was because around the time that I was growing up, they did Ultimate Spider-Man. And that was, for me, okay, I can start at square one. I don't have to, dig through 60 years worth of, history. I can just be like, Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1. Great. And it was very consistent. That's the thing about the Ultimate Universe. It was very kind of linear.
Right.
There wasn't a bunch of side things going on. And then at a certain point, then they transitioned to Miles. And it was just easy. It was easy for me to keep up with. I never felt like I was lost. I kind of could always go to the library, rent volume 1, 2, 3, and I knew where I was at. And that's why I loved him. And so then when the films came around, it was just like, oh, I love this character. There's something about him that I think is so endearing. And I think it was one of the reasons that they touched upon it in Into the Spider-Verse, which was like essentially anyone could be Spider-Man.
Right. I do like that about him, is that, out of all the superheroes, he's the most, I don't want to say realistic one, but it's like, that's the one that we're relatable, you know? Like, I'm a kid too, I'm a student, I'm still trying to figure out how to, juggle both, you know what I mean?
And that's what I think they've done so well with these new Spider-Man movies, is like, they remind you what it's like to be at the ground level, not like the Thor level or the Captain America where you're used to it.
Exactly.
The entirety of this film is basically Spider-Man struggling with the responsibility, but not like the way Tobey Maguire did.
Exactly.
It was more like, I just kind of want to be a kid. Like, I want to do the right thing, but I also want to be a kid.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, Spider-Man, the original trilogy, it is not the best when it comes to taking what was originally on page and bringing it to life.
Right.
No, they took a lot of their own liberties, but it was like the early 2000s, and comic book movies were not a thing.
Yeah,
right,
exactly. Like one of the first like real like superhero movies,
it was the one that really put it on the map of being a blockbuster. Like, you had X-Men in 2002 or 2001, I can't remember. I think it was 2000, and that kind of was like, but even that took itself really seriously, and it was a little bit edgier, and Spider-Man was like the perfect mix of being realistic.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
doing quotation marks, while also being campy and fun, and I think that came from the director.
Yeah.
I think if there's anything I would say about the original trilogy is, well, at least the first two of the original trilogy, was that there was something consistent about the way the director made it. Like, it was back in a time when a film could be a director's project and could kind of like, it didn't feel tampered with until the third one. And I love the new Spider-Man movies. I love Tom Holland, but they still do kind of exist in this like weird limbo of having to be Sony's Spider-Man and also having to be Marvel's Spider-Man, having to be its own thing while also being part of a universe. It's like, it feels like a weird bastard child, but one that we love.
You're right.
But still kind of like the original, the first two.
I love you, but you're not my son. Well, that's a great intro into what we're actually supposed to be talking about today, which is Spider-Man Far From Home.
Or not to be confused with Homecoming.
Or not to be confused with the next one, is Spider-Man Home for the Holidays. That's what I want for the third one.
So Spider-Man Far From Home, following the events of Avengers Endgame, including the tragic loss of his mentor, Tony Stark, Spider-Man must step up to take on the new threats in a world that has changed forever.
And then the film obviously was starring Tom Holland's delicious body, Samuel L. Jackson in his 11th Marvel appearance.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow. Zendaya, of course, Jake Gyllenhaal, who was almost actually replaced by Tobey Maguire.
No.
In Spider-Man 2.
He almost replaced Tobey Maguire.
He almost replaced Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
I read that wrong. John Favreau?
Oh, wow, really?
Favreau.
Why do I do a podcast with
John Favreau, who plays, the guy.
Benji, you're the worst. Do you want me to keep this in, or do you want me to edit it out?
He plays the guy.
No, I'm going to let you hang.
You're going to go ahead.
Shaniece, do you want to tell us who John Favreau plays?
Happy?
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah. He was the one who directed the original Iron Man, so that's who John Favreau is, like the godfather of this new series. So
okay, I see.
And he's directing Lion King.
Yeah, he is. So Spider-Man Far From Home was released on July 2nd, 2019.
What day was that?
I think it was like
Tuesday.
a Tuesday, yeah.
Super random.
It actually made a Tuesday opening record of $39.3 million.
But I'm sure that wasn't like a very cramped market of big opens on Tuesday. Like,
I mean, I loved it. Like, I was hungry for something else after Endgame, you know? And he's our like it's like a family, you know? You look at everybody and then he's like our cousin. He's like, okay, what's going to happen next? How is he going to, hold up the family, since all that stuff happened? Is he going to be able to, live up to the name and live up, underneath the greatest Iron Man,
Yeah.
And just the aftermath. That was the other thing, too, was how was that film going to, show the aftermath of the snap? And so, that was my whole thing, was just what's the conversation going to be like? How is everybody going to act afterwards?
Why is nobody traumatized post like the snap / the blip? Like, if your family disappeared for like 5 years and you like forced yourself to move on and then they just popped right back into reality.
I would be counseling immediately. Like, I would just be like, in fear of, is it going to happen again?
Exactly.
You know?
You'd have such, like, because they don't, like, normal everyday humans don't watch the Marvel movies. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
All they knew was they were probably just out at the market and then poof, their loved one's gone. Mm-hmm. They don't know Thanos is dead.
I think I'd be pretty chill.
You're
Easy come, easy go.
Oh my God.
Easy go, easy come. I mean, like, it's definitely sad, but you have no clue what happened. Like, you just, like, you stand there talking to somebody and they're kind of gone, and you're like, by the time you figured it out, like, probably like 3 years in, and you're like, I guess they're not coming back.
Wow.
It wouldn't take you 3 years, but like by the time you probably get the whole story, and you're like, oh, okay, well, like, there was like a monster that snapped everybody away and the Avengers lost, and like, what is life? That's probably about the time that they kind of got their stuff together and got everybody back, and then you're like, oh, hey, you're back. It's been 5 years. Let me fill you in. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'd be pretty chill about it. Like, I'd be like, oh, go.
I'd be scared.
I'm with you, Shaniece. Like,
Yeah.
that's some major PTSD that you're dealing with there. That's like, I mean, I'm not saying I want Spider-Man Far From Home to be like super depressing. I'm really glad that the tone these films.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
this wasn't the film either. For
Right.
that. Like,
But they were just like, and we're back. I was like, what?
Right, exactly.
Imagine if your like sister or your brother just disappeared, and then it's like, all right, cool. Like, obviously, super thankful, but I feel like there would be like that. Are you gonna disappear
well,
again?
no, because you know
Exactly.
that Thanos got defeated, so they're fine.
Okay.
You just have to be optimistic. You just have to realize that the Avengers did their job, and you're safe
eternally the difference between me and you, Benji. When we discuss films, Benji comes at it from a glass half full, and I'm always like
now. I'm like, oh, you're back. I've been waiting.
Right.
and I would just be like, what is life? What is the black hole that you disappeared into?
Well, hopefully in that case, I would stay and you would get snapped, because you would come back and not realize really what happened.
Oh, right.
And then I would just be like, hey, man, it's been a minute. I kept your apartment warm for you. I don't know.
But how did we like that opening with the Whitney Houston?
I loved it.
Oh my
I loved
God.
it. I was just like this. And one thing I do love about the Marvel films is its sense of humor. The other thing too that I loved is that that guy who likes Zendaya in the film, that he was the only one that had a major difference.
Right?
What's
Yeah.
his name?
His name was
That
Brad.
was so funny because he
Yeah.
grew up. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Literally, it's been 5 years.
I think his name was Brad. Because I wrote it down.
that was so funny.
Yeah, he was funny. And at first he started off, I was like, oh, this guy seems nice. And then as the film
Exactly.
progressed, I was like, that guy's a dick.
Exactly.
But then what high schooler isn't a dick? Like,
Right.
honestly.
I was not a dick. In high
I
school,
look back at
so-
myself and
I was a
think,
nerd.
You really?
Yeah.
Were both of you nerds?
Yes.
Or was one of you the cool
We
twin?
were the nerds.
Oh, okay.
So there was 3 sets of twins at my high school.
Wow.
They and this is how they categorized us. They were like the quiet twins,
Oh,
the fast A twins because they were like showing their bodies, whatever, and then the twins that think they're superheroes, which was Shanae and I.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
cute.
super cute.
Quick. They did not explain well what the situation was, because I don't know how they all went on a class trip together when they're not all in the same grade anymore.
Yes, and they went on summer vacation. So it's like, was this yeah, I agree with you because they didn't. I was like, oh, they're just
because
going on a trip together.
they took the time to explain kind of how everything happened and how everybody came back and how they put the people who got snapped away back in school and they had them restart the year. But they didn't explain like, oh, like, so Zendaya, MJ, like, you're in college now, like, how's that? You know, they didn't address that at all.
No, they did not. They didn't have any of those conversations. They were
Yeah,
just like,
and I think what I'm gonna say to go ahead and just be okay with it is that the people that didn't get snapped away, they were in college and they're coming back and doing like TA jobs for like college credit, and maybe they all went on that trip together, and like half of them were TAs and half of them were students, and that was like a thing, and maybe it was like an extra credit trip for everybody. So
Sure.
I don't know. That's what I'm gonna believe.
Right, right.
They
Fill
legit
that in
kind of
for you,
swept it
Marvel.
under the rug. They were like,
Yeah.
let's start off with this, get it out of the way, and let's move on.
Yeah,
Like,
which
Yeah.
also, because I'm pretty sure Zendaya stayed, right? That's what they said, or that's what they implied.
no, honestly,
maybe not.
Like you said, they
but
didn't do a really good job of like.
I was just
saying.
I was like, well, if that's the case, you know, then Tom Holland is like 16 or 17, and Zendaya is 21 or 22.
Right.
That's
Not good.
illegal.
Not good, girl. Depending on what state you're in, that's illegal.
Right.
That's illegal, but sorry, we'll move on after this, but I really liked having been a filmmaker that's done movies since like Windows Movie Maker back in 2003.
Yeah.
I loved how cheesy.
Yes.
I was like, man, 5 years has passed and they still do not have a better editing system
Exactly.
than like Windows Movie Maker 3.
And they left the Getty images.
Yes.
They didn't pay for it.
So we get the whole introduction, literally breeze past all of that, and then we go into Peter Parker doesn't want to be Spider-Man, at least for the weekend or the
I don't blame him.
few weeks of his
Yeah,
vacation.
his vacation. He just wants to go like kiss a girl.
If Tobey Maguire had been like, I just want to kiss a girl, I'd be like, Toby, you are a grown-ass man. Like,
Right.
like,
Yeah,
there's something so endearing about the fact that they have like relatively high school looking
Youngish
kids.
Yeah.
Actors
doing
like doing this.
Yeah.
So when he's spending the whole film being like, I kind of want to, spend time with MJ, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. He is a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
This is a kid with a big responsibility. Granted, he did just help defeat Thanos
Exactly.
in a giant
Like,
battle,
let him
but
sit down for a second.
Right.
Also, like he kind of like up until the very end, he had nothing to do with the problem. Like
Right.
that
Right.
had nothing to do with him. Like he had no way to stop it. Like it was these big freaking like elemental monsters that he had. His powers were not equipped to fight that. Like when
Right.
when the first thing attacked in whatever city that was, and he like
Venice.
held up the tower for a second, and it like the tower still ended up falling. They were like, "Good job with that tower," and I was like, "What? Good job slowing
right
it down."
because they didn't really
Exactly.
they
He
didn't
didn't
show
do
anybody on the
anything.
ground level that he was like protecting either.
and they
So-
were like-
Exactly,
yeah, they were like,
exactly.
"Good job with that. We really need you." And I'm like, "For what? Like, for
Right.
what? Let him have his trip."
It definitely was like, because the plot demands it.
Yeah,
That's why.
exactly.
Right.
And I felt like because there was like throughout the movie there was points where they were like, "Oh, like you did a great job," or "We needed you," or blah blah blah. And I was like, Spider-Man hasn't done anything this whole movie. Like for the first 2/3, I was like, he really hasn't done anything but like run point and be like, "Oh, I got your back," and like not do anything.
Right.
So I was until like closer to the end when we found his villain. I was like, okay, all right, I'm in.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah. So he leaves New York without his suit.
I love Aunt May.
I do too. And
She is. She's a G. Like the
She's so cute.
cutest. And then her and Happy, I love.
I love that she knows that he's Spider-Man. Like
Right.
I hate in every superhero movie when they cannot just tell someone that they're close
Right.
to that they're a superhero. They're like, it's gonna put them in danger. Like it's gonna put your relationship and your life in danger if you don't tell
Right,
them.
exactly,
Honestly.
exactly.
If you can't tell like your mom, be like, stay inside tonight because I'm fighting elemental monsters and it'll put your life in danger if you leave your room. And you just tell her like, hey mom, you should stay inside. And she's like, no, I'm going to the club. I don't know what moms
Right,
do.
because mom's going to the club.
Right.
But like she's like, no, I'm gonna go have drinks with my friends, and it's like, yeah, you like she doesn't know, like you're putting her in danger by not telling her. So it's like really, it's it upsets me. So I'm glad that they just got rid of that.
Right.
off
Right.
the
Got
bat.
that out of the way. I know she is so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're gonna tell anybody like that you're a superhero, family first.
Exactly.
Like my mom would be the first person I'd be like, Mom, you won't believe this. I can climb walls. Like,
Right.
Okay, Benji, just come in before 12.
I'm gonna put on a mask and I'm gonna save the world.
Okay, Benji.
All right. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you love. We get an introduction to Aunt May. I thought that was really cute.
Yes.
Tell me something. That suit that she packs into his suitcase, and how did that get through security?
I'm sure Tony Stark made it to some way that it could get through. Like,
Right.
it probably has a cloaking
Marvel
device
should
on
keep
it.
you around because you're really good at explaining away any plot holes.
That's a job.
Right.
Call me.
You're just like the one they're like, but what about this? And then it's like, why don't you speak to our associate, Mr. Benjamin Jones?
So, Tony Stark, as you know, is a very smart individual.
What is this
He
voice?
he had himself invented a way to cloak weapons so that they will not be detected by other senses of certain types. Hereforth,
Yeah.
with which his suit can get through on the plane.
right.
Great. That was cool. Let's never talk to that guy again. So we fly to Venice. Oh my God. Ned and Betty.
Yes.
That I laughed like their whole like summer fling
Right.
was so cute.
so quick. Like,
So
Hey, babe. Thanks, babe.
I love the whole like musical chairs in the flight.
Right.
That was he did that wrong. So you don't go up and have the girl move. You have I forget how the situation worked out, but I was like, literally all he had to do was say that the thing was bothering me. Can I switch seats with you, MJ?
Yes.
Boom,
yes,
done.
Yes.
She goes and sits by him, and that's set. But when you're like, and you're asking like what 4 people to move, because he was like, so he's gonna come back here because it's bothering him, and then you say, and then I'm gonna come back, and like that's too complicated.
And then the teacher came
One
in.
switch. Yeah.
I think the things that are most successful about these Spider-Man films is how they utilize the side characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really funny. So
Yeah, they're super fleshed out, super funny, super realistic. Love it.
what was
Good job,
that?
guys.
What?
Just wanted to add something in there.
We get to Venice, and of course they get attacked by their first elemental, the water one, which can anyone explain to me how, if they are, spoiler alert, just holograms, how the water's actually moving?
Right.
Well, the
is this
drones.
Wait, is this explaining Benji coming
literally,
in?
No, the drones. Like they said, the drones do it all. So the drones, like, they pull up the water and
they do?
shoot it. Yeah, like that's how they said. They said the drones. It's like an illusion.
I know the
and
drones
then
were doing
they
the
use-
illusion part.
They use the drones to also like make the damage. Were you not
Right.
watching?
That's true. Yeah.
But the
True.
drones they were under the water. Like when they did the
Okay.
big one on the bridge at the end, the drones were
Okay.
under the water and like shot energy blasts through the water and made like the water crash up and like take down the wall. So like they utilize the drones.
Yeah, it seems a
to
little
do all
shifty,
that
but
stuff.
okay, sure, we'll go with
It's
that.
not. It's like multi-billion-dollar tech. Like it can do that.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry, but this brings back an issue I've had with every single Marvel film, though, since the first Iron Man. Almost 9 out of 10 times when it comes to the big issue or the big threat, it's always self-inflicted.
yeah,
Like
by Tony Stark.
by Tony Stark. Ultron, Tony Stark.
Right,
like,
right.
You know, Whiplash, technically because of Tony Stark. Like
Right.
a lot of these villains are like self-inflicted. Like the villain of the first movie was a disgruntled Tony Stark employee. Like it's a little bit more of a stretch, but definitely in this one, it was like you're for sure using Tony Stark.
Exactly.
Angry Tony Stark employees with angry Tony Stark tech.
So, love the films, but a lot of these issues could have been solved had Tony Stark not been making dangerous.
Right.
But whatever. That's the game we play. So he gets attacked. We meet Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio.
Mysterio.
And you have to do it like he did in the film. Like it's Mysterio.
Right.
Use that little look.
Mysterio.
I love
Got
Jake
it, I'm
Gyllenhaal
in. Yeah,
in
me
this
too.
movie.
Really good.
Okay, so like obviously if you follow like the comics and stuff, like you would know that Mysterio is a bad guy. I completely forgot that. So I was really,
got you.
I was liking him so much. I was
Right.
like, he's so cool. And then when like, obviously when Tom like handed over the glasses,
I know.
I was like, oh yeah, totally. And then I stopped and I thought, and I was like, oh wait, we're only halfway
He
through the
looked
movie.
like him too.
I was like,
when he put on the shades,
Yeah, he
I was
totally
like,
looked
oh my
like
God.
Tony Stark.
I was like, yeah, good call, Tom. And then I was like, wait.
Right.
Even if he wasn't the villain, even if he was just like actually who he said he was, that's still a dumb thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
you literally have billions of dollars of the most dangerous.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
there needs to be a vetting system.
Yeah.
I need to make
Yeah.
sure that
I did think that because I was like, you can't just hand those over.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go with this because Tony picked him, and so Tony trusts him. I'm gonna trust him. I'm
Wow.
gonna roll with this today.
you stupid.
And that's what I get for trying to trust people.
This is
Like,
why no one
Yeah.
hands you Edith.
no, I would use Edith to destroy my enemies. Like I would
Right.
never hand Edith over to anybody, and that's why I wouldn't get Edith because I would be selfish and I wouldn't use it for good.
And this is one of the first characters in a while in the Marvel universe, other than of course Killmonger,
Right.
where the villain not only represented a threat in the film, but he also represented a theme as well. And that's always been the big thing about like the villain can't just be there and be a villain. He's got to
Yeah.
represent some aspect that's the antithesis of what the film's going for. And so Mysterio literally represented the anti-truth. The idea that like people want to believe something.
Yeah.
It still wasn't the film wasn't completely consistent in whatever theme it was trying to explore, but I did think like that was so strong. So like even you trusting him, right? Whereas normally I would have been like, oh, okay, they just did the whole switch and like bait and switch thing. Like we all kind of knew, except for Benji, we all knew he was going to be the bad guy.
Right.
But I think it worked in this one. It didn't feel like a cheap like,
No, yeah, it didn't feel like
I'm the
cheap
bad
at
guy, and
all,
you're like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, we all knew that.
Right,
like,
right.
It felt it still hit for me because he did build a relationship.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
And
and
even when he was bad, he still he didn't want to kill Peter. Like, he
No.
still liked him.
Yeah.
So he was like, sorry, bro, I gotta.
And it
Right.
spoke to the vulnerability of a 16-year-old kid
Yeah.
needing to believe, needing to like you said, have a mentor
Yeah.
to step in because he did just lose his mentor. So I thought thematically, I liked what they did with him more, especially, oh my God, skipping ahead to the fight scenes, like with Mysterio when he like throws him into a loop.
Yeah.
That was.
I was like, this is never
insane,
ending. How's he
bro.
gonna get out of this?
Oh my God. Still, he ends up still being like the whole, like all the villains in these Marvel universes, they always end up doing the same thing. It's just like flying and shooting lasers and stuff. You're like, oh, okay, cool. So like after a while, the end fight scenes are just like, yay, I've seen this like 5 times before. And it makes me miss back in the day when like the Green Goblin was distinctively different from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, or like Dr. Ock, he had a different way of fighting than Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and he had a different way of fighting from the Green Goblin. So like the villains weren't just visually different, they also had a different like the climaxes weren't the same.
Right.
Whereas like nowadays, I feel like all the villains essentially are exactly the same. And even Mysterio, he still did the whole flying and shooting lasers.
Right.
But with the whole like trippy acid scene,
Yeah.
it was like,
Crazy.
oh, thank God, like a Marvel film that has like a different style of fighting. Like it's not just the same punch him, shoot him up at the end. It was It was a little bit more cerebral, and I liked that. And you were saying too, like the fact that all the kids snuck out of the opera.
Oh, absolutely. I said it before they even did it. I was like, when he was like walking him through the streets and he was like, this is going to be so much better. I was like, I would have just turned around and walked off to the party. I'd have been like, you can send me home early, suspend me, give me detention. I don't care. I'm not sitting in the opera for 4 hours. And I was like, the best I would have done probably actually is I would have gotten a group of about probably 3 people all together. We actually probably all would have talked about it and been ranting and all agreed that we were going to do this beforehand. But you get in there, you wait till everybody's seated, and then you all like start one by one go into the bathroom. You all meet in the lobby. You take off, have fun at the party for 3.5 hours, come back, hit the last 30 minutes of the play, and then you walk out with your teacher.
That's funny. No, and I just thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that each time they were like, oh, we got upgraded. Oh, we got this, we got that. And I'm like, how is this?
Go home! You've almost died like 7 times. Damn!
So then we get this really interesting scene where it's revealed, of course, that he is the bad guy. And then we get to see all of like these disgruntled workers that have like been working for Tony Stark, who've been there. And it's kind of, without like getting too political, it definitely speaks to the time that we're living in, where the main villain is somebody who comes from a disgruntled like place of just like speaking and preying off of people's unhappiness with the systems at large, and kind of promising a brighter future, promising like, we can do it. The ones who have been overlooked. And like I said, without getting too political, it definitely was an interesting angle to take. I thought it made it make sense. Like this villain, even as cartoony as he could have seemed when he made the switch, it was like, it's not that cartoony though, because we know that sometimes people are desperate for their truth.
Exactly, yeah.
And it was like, it made it scary to a sense where it's like, he didn't even need like a motivation other than, I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
And I want to be in power.
Yeah.
You know, and of course it is Jake Gyllenhaal, so he does a really good job of like just making that transition. So where you're like, sure, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
You're
Evil.
unstable. And so we've obviously found out that Quentin's the bad guy. We have that really trippy, awesome scene. I loved it.
Spider-Man gets hit by a train.
Dude, that
was crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, that hurt. Like, I went right through me. I was like, I screamed in the theater.
Yeah. He goes, "Whoa!" But I was like, okay, well, he'll be fine.
Yeah, the older I get, the less control I have over like my
Noises that
reactions in
come
the films.
Same, yeah.
I'm definitely getting a lot more verbal, and I think sometimes like, thankfully in like Avengers, everyone was with me. Like,
right, exactly.
But in this one, it still was kind of a quiet crowd, except for one random guy who got super excited when MJ and Peter Parker kissed.
Which
Oh my gosh.
it was funny. He got like so happy about it.
For real though, he went, yeah. And I was like, the hell? You okay there,
so
sir?
funny. Also, that bugged me because I was like, I'm so happy y'all finally kissed, but like Peter's mouth was bloody, like his nose was bleeding, and there was blood on his mouth, and it like bugged me. I was like, can you at least like wipe?
And it was like peck kissing too. Like it wasn't like.
But that was so cute.
You know?
Well, it was like
that was so cute.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Okay. Oh my gosh.
That's like first kisses, but I was like, it's cute. It was like the first pet kiss. I was like, okay, now like wait and do a real kiss later after he's cleaned his face, and then they went for the real kiss, and I was like, can we not?
Right.
Did you like the fact that basically Peter is pretty much embracing his place in the MCU as the next Iron Man?
Yeah, I did. I've always loved the fact that he was so eager. Well, first of all, he was trained by he had the greatest mentor.
Yeah.
With everything that just happened in the previous films and what have you, it's like he needed, we need the new hero.
And it was very endearing
it's refreshing too
to see like Jon Favreau, who directed the first Iron Man, watching Peter Parker as Happy Hogan, watching him kind of like easily slip into that when he's like, okay, make this.
Yes.
And he goes, I'll pick the music. And then he goes, I love Led Zeppelin. I was like,
I was crying at that part.
Wasn't it so
because
cute?
It was like you just saw
there was so many
influence.
levels. You had the level of like just in the film, Happy having been so close to Tony Stark, seeing the new Tony Stark, and that was adorable.
Yes.
Then you had the level of the fact that Jon Favreau, as the director of the first Marvel film in this universe, watching the new generation be inspired by the film that he made.
Yeah.
You know, there was just a lot of like levels that like that one moment hit for me.
And then you had Peter Parker stepping up and filling that role and not even trying. Like,
no,
he
it was so cute.
It was not him like, okay, what would Stark do? He literally was just like, oh, and he started like, he was in his element, started doing his own thing, making his suit. Like, he did the same little thing where he like made his design and flicked it, and it spun around that like Tony
I didn't even notice that. That was
so like he's like doing all his little things that he does and just like
I love that,
being really in his element, and that was just like good to see that because I frankly wasn't sure that he could do it. So I was glad to see that.
Yeah. Plus that suit was fire.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I can't. I
got chills. Yeah.
I can't wait till they have Miles Morales in this universe because his suit's gonna be so good.
My suit will be great.
Oh, is this Benji Jones for Miles Morales?
Let's go. Start the hashtag.
We'll do it. So then we get the final battle. You have Spider-Man basically breaking through the illusion, and he's like, "You're not gonna fool me anymore." And I like that. I love like I said, I love the thematic idea of like Spider-Man is not just fighting a physical villain; he's fighting the truth or the lack of the truth. And then of course he says the line, which is, "People will believe anything."
People believe what they want to believe, basically.
You know. Then so as we're nearing the end, Benji, what about that depressing little moment with the Flash?
Oh my gosh. With the bully kid where like everybody's getting picked up from the airport and he like goes up to the driver and he's like, "Oh, is Mummy not going to make it again?" And he's like, "Nope." And they just like cut away and I was like, "But hey, like come on, what was that about?" Like give us, like there was just no reason for that.
And these movies, they get a lot off of like your expectations. They play off of what you've seen so many times before.
Yeah.
So the end scene with him swinging MJ around.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I know how this is going to turn out. No.
Yeah,
right.
It's like realistic. Like, you wouldn't just be like, "Oh, we're swinging like thousands of feet over everybody," and just, like
that's
100
scary
miles
AF.
It's terrifying.
I love that.
Yeah.
The ending, I was frustrated because
really?
Because it's like everything was happening all at once. You know, he said that this video, his name was revealed.
I was like, that did not just happen.
Don't.
How's it gonna come out of this?
So it's interesting because the end of Homecoming ends with Aunt May finding out that he's Peter Parker. Or that he's Spider-Man, and she goes, "What the fuck?" And it cuts to the credits.
Yes.
Which is what frustrated me about this one, because they cut right when they start to swing, do the credits, and then come back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, clearly that was a last minute change because you obviously filmed it to end the exact same way as Homecoming.
Yeah.
Which is they would have done the swinging, not cut to the credits. She would have come down, been like, "That was scary AF." Then they would have done the video, and he would have been like, "What the fuck?" And then cut to the credits.
Right.
But that still hit me so hard.
Yeah.
And when he said it's Peter Parker, I just went, also was a tie-in to the original Iron Man, whereas like Iron Man said,
Absolutely.
"I am Iron Man," and this one is like, he is Peter Parker. And he's like, "What the?"
as blown away and like what the hell as I am about it, I honestly think it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Like I think everybody
know.
knows everybody knows Spider-Man is good. All he's going to have to do is do a press conference and be like, this is what happened. These people can back me up. I saved these people. Everybody knows I'm a good guy. I'm Peter
but it'd be
Parker.
cool if they leaned into it.
No, I don't want them to lean into that. That's dumb. I hate that. Like,
But we were all excited to see J.K. Simmons back, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I really was. It was. I love when they put those like little nuggets in there because it's like, oh my god, like I know we haven't. Yes.
And I hope he is. I hope he's more than a nugget, though. I hope in the future. I know it's a little different because now, obviously, if everyone knows who Peter Parker is, he's not going to be working at the Daily Bugle.
Right.
And I don't know if you caught this, but the Daily Bugle now is more like an alt-right
and online,
like one of those. It's definitely like a Bill O'Reilly, like Ben Shapiro type thing, where it's just like Republican / libertarian, like just angry commentator being like, we don't like this, and you can't take our guns away from us, and I don't know.
And Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and he tried to kill you all.
Get me pictures of Spider-Man. So it's like, if they lean into that, I don't know what they plan on doing for the third one. But it would be interesting how that like plays out because clearly like it's the same J. Jonah Jameson, but it's like definitely updated for 2019.
Yeah.
So that is the end. Loved that.
Great movie.
I
loved it. Like that's what we needed. You know, we had a month and a half post Endgame. It's like,
we needed like a chaser. That was Endgame was tequila.
And that was
what do you have after tequila? Lime or
that was a lime, but I would say that
milk.
Endgame was vodka, and that was like a shot of orange juice or something. I don't know.
Either way, it was a necessary thing afterwards. So with all the news, because we just got the news that like we have a new what is it?
We have a new Ariel.
We have a new Ariel for the Little Mermaid, and then of course with Zendaya as MJ. Do you like kind of the fact that they're broadening up and kind of like recasting these characters? Does it feel like something that you appreciate, like having think about it as if you were a little girl, or does it feel like a little frustrating or pandering or anything?
I do. Coming from an actor's standpoint, it's like now there's more doors opening for us. Because at first it's like we, for things that are from books to film, it's like, dang, I'm not going to have a chance because in the comic or in this, they were, a certain color or what have you. So it's like, I appreciate that Hollywood is, opening their minds to, creating new things. But at the same time, it's like, if you, I don't know. Like for Ariel, for instance, that was the first costume that I was. And I was like, oh my God,
really?
I'm going to be, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have red hair, da-da-da-da. So it was a staple in my mind, So instantly when I heard the news, I was like, oh man, she's not gonna have red hair, because I just assumed like, oh, they're gonna get a redhead. I feel like as long as they have the core, which I know that they will, it's like we can imagine different things.
Yeah.
So I am happy that it means more opportunities for African Americans and other people of color to get into these iconic roles that we didn't think we would be able to.
I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, but if you had one thing to say to the people who don't like some of this recasting, what would it be, Shaniece?
Say it to me because I'm disappointed.
I just feel like you just have to just open your mind, like not everything has to be, yes, some things need to be by the book, but also it's like, this is Hollywood. Things are always constantly, we're reusing a lot of things, it's just different people involved, different directors or what have you. So it's like, you have to, in order for change to happen, there has to be changes made in Hollywood, know, and it's like we want to be we want to be as realistic as we can in this field. Just look at Pose, for example. That is that changed the game, and it opened everybody's eyes to be like, wow, they're dealing with this, or this is a community. And that's why you see like Batwoman and, a bunch of other TV shows and films hiring, they're expanding their, reach, because they're like, if people are becoming these things and wanting to be like XYZ, we have to implement these in our films. We have to be what the world is now. We have to start implementing that. At first I was like, oh, they're like forcing diversity in these films. That's what I thought initially when they started like switching up the characters and everything. But now it's like, no, they're they're just wanting to, embrace everything, embrace what we see growing up and what these new people or these kids are growing up with.
And I would add to yours, it's just like, you got to think of the kids. Like, I know it might be frustrating for us sometimes. That's not the character we grew up with, but kids, they're going to grow up with someone else. And, it's good for them to see themselves on screen.
Yeah.
And it might be frustrating for some people. I mean, I can't really say anything to change your mind, but hopefully one day you can see a happy child and that will help you change your mind. I mean, I know for me, it was really fun seeing a little girl dress up as Rey from Star Wars, even though Star Wars has always had really strong female characters. But I loved seeing a little girl dress up as Rey for Halloween. I was like, oh, that's cute. And I remember when Black Panther came out, there was a young kid at our church who just was playing with a T'Challa toy. And there was both white and black kids were playing with it. And I was like, that's the thing. Like, they don't give a crap.
Right.
They're not sitting there trying to be like, oh, I just want to force diversity. But they're just happy to see themselves on screen.
Exactly.
That's I mean, like I said, I can't change your mind, but I mean, hopefully a child can. I don't know.
For actors, it gives other actors hope.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So, Benji, do you have any final thoughts
on this movie or on the casting thing?
No, on anything on the film.
No.
You said no. I want to hear your thoughts on the casting.
I appreciate the diverse casting. I really do. The Little Mermaid was my favorite movie growing up, and so it's hard for me to relinquish that the idea of what it was. Obviously it's going to be a fantastic movie.
Right.
I'm going to see it. I'm going to love it. I know that. I was annoyed that they started on mine. I was
you said started on mine.
Yeah, because they did Lion King, they did Beauty and the Beast, they did Cinderella. They've done 5 different ones, and it's been true. Shot for shot the same movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's all I want. I just want shot for shot the same movie, but with real people in it. And I was like, oh, mine's coming up. And they're like, oh, BT Dubs, your main character is going to be the exact opposite of what you thought. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted. But I'm ready for it. It'll be great.
I'm ready for it too.
It's good. And then maybe from here on, they'll really just change things up.
Switch
they're gonna change. They're gonna change the game.
Yeah. So we're gonna. I told you we were gonna get here. We're gonna end on our rankings of the Spider-Man films. You don't have to include, of course, the made-for-TV movies or Japanese film.
Right.
Just the current ones. What your ranking is of your least favorite to favorite Spider-Man movie. Who wants to go first?
I mean, I'll go first.
Okay. There's 8 of them, so.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know my top one now is going to be Far From Home.
Okay, Far From Home.
Far From Home. Second would be the original Spider-Man with Tobey.
Okay.
Spider-Man 1. And then, Spider-Man 3. What? I do like... I like when there's multiple
and that was Shaniece Cole, everybody.
Yes. No. Spider-Man 3 is number 3.
Oh, wow.
Let's see. Spider-Man Homecoming 4.
Okay.
5. Let's see. 5. Spider-Man 2, and then, unfortunately, I haven't seen the Miles one. I haven't seen that one. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
My sister saw it without me. I don't know where I was. Okay. So but the very last, the last 2, honestly, is the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree with that.
I'm gonna go. I'm not sure if I've seen both of the Amazing Spider-Mans. Which one is the one where Gwen dies in the end?
That's number 2.
Okay, well that one's last. So I'm gonna say it would be probably Far From Home, Homecoming, probably Spider-Man 1 and 2. Then Spider-Verse, then what else do we have? Then Ultimate Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 3, and then second Ultimate Spider-Man.
Okay. And mine, those are all. I disagree with some of those. I'm going to go with number 8 is Amazing Spider-Man 2 because, that was terrible. I did like what they were trying to do with Jamie Foxx's character.
Oh yeah, Jamie was in there.
You're going.
I'm going least favorite to favorite.
Okay.
So number 8
I went the other way.
Well, yeah, but we got you.
Making sure
we got you. Amazing Spider-Man 2 is last, just like you. Amazing Spider-Man 1 is number 7. Number 6, unfortunately for me, is Spider-Man 3.
Really?
It's my. It was my. It was my biggest disappointment as a kid because Venom is one of my favorite characters of all time.
Right.
And I was just like, they did him dirty in that one. I was not happy.
I just thought that Bad Peter was awkward.
That was so
and that was literally
the
main reason why it was like I can't watch this movie just for that. Like,
right.
After it, I'm not sure about this. This might switch in the future, but 5 and 4, 5 is Far From Home, and then 4 is Homecoming. But honestly, that could. I don't know.
Look at my face. Look, huh?
And then I get very, of course, Spider-Man comes in at number 3, the original 2002. I really loved Into the Spider-Verse, and I would recommend you watch it. It's so good. I'm not gonna say it doesn't have to be your top.
it's alright.
And number 1 for me is Spider-Man 2. I love that film. I love it. I keep it old school. But there's nothing wrong with your. There really isn't, honestly.
There's nothing wrong.
Because it also, like it said,
point.
like I don't think Tobey Maguire is the best Peter Parker / Spider-Man.
I don't.
So that's kind of, it makes it confusing because I'm like, I love Tom Holland.
Yeah, Tom is great.
He's up there, and Shaniece Moore was awesome as Miles Morales. So I really I love their performances. So it's not like I don't just stick to the original Spider-Man just because.
Right.
Just because of nostalgia. I just think this film is much stronger as a whole, but it is difficult because I love Tom Holland way more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a wrap up for us.
That's all she wrote, folks.
So
This was fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
Shaniece, thank you so much for coming onto the
Thank
show.
you for having me.
Yeah.
This was a fun conversation.
Yeah, this was
Where
great.
would we be able to find you if we wanted to look you up?
Superwoman Superfly on Instagram, Twitter, you know.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, and Benji?
I'm at Benj Watch, BENJ Watch.
And I'm at Josiah J. Rizzo. But of course, you can follow us as in the Pink Popcast. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter at Pink Popcast.
And that's Popcast. I can't tell you how many of my friends are like, I can't find it. And I'm like, Pink Popcast. And they're like, the Pink Podcast. Yeah, I can't find it. And I'm like, it's the Popcast. And Jess, I'm not just talking to you. Like, it's been like 5
That's
times.
why we say pop with a P. And you can watch us on YouTube or listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Just be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts so we can spread the word. It really would help us out.
Yeah, and we're going to read our best and our worst comments. We're super excited about it.
Shoot!
Yeah, we need to get enough. But yeah, is there anything else you guys would like to say before we sign out?
You guys are great.
Oh.
Like, very passionate. Like, when you invest, you believe in it. So I love you guys.
Thank you so much. Come back anytime.
We were honored to have you on this. Honored to share in your passion for a little bit. And yeah, I guess that's all I can say before I
That's
shed a
all
tear
we can say.
or start getting into like dad sentimentality here. Like,
I love you guys. I love everyone.
but yeah, so I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And I'm Shaniece Cole.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink. Then we get the nice scene in the bar like we talked about.
Oh my God, are we having an earthquake?
Oh, we are.
Oh.
All right, guys. Well, we're going through an earthquake.
Should we go outside?
Yeah, let's go outside.
Let's go outside.
I'm gonna pause that.